Hey everybody, I'm Karen Bryant,
And I'm Angela Overkill Hill.
and this is What Had
What
Happened Was.
shit had happened? I
What
messed
had
up. I'm
happened was.
sorry.
This is
Ah.
good. Yeah, so hey, we are back, episode number 13. If you are just finding us for the first time, that means there's 12 others. So you
Yeah.
can find us on my Karen Bryant YouTube channel, Angela Hill's IGTV, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
Apple
Yes.
Apple
Yes.
Podcast as well. So we just got back. Both of us literally just got back from Vegas for UFC 24. We'll talk about that and actually get into things about fighter superstitions, fighters getting their names mispronounced. Because if you guys saw the Triller situation, there was a little bit of a mess over there with Ben, and a couple of things I want to get into. But of course, Angie, you are victorious basically because your teammate Jess was victorious in her fight, and it's a comeback fight. She hasn't fought since 2017, so that must have been great.
Yeah, no, I was super stoked for her. She worked so hard for the Hannah Goldie fight that ended up not happening, and she's just been grinding since December. I think that's when she was supposed to fight, and then it got pushed back because like Goldie got injured, and then it got pushed back again, and then Goldie got COVID, like fight week, so then it got pushed back again, and then it turned out Goldie wasn't coming. Like
She was
Goldie,
not
Goldie is out. She's out like our old Goldie,
right.
like so. Oh, I miss Goldie actually. I miss that Goldie. Hannah Goldie needs to get her stuff together. All right, quit hurting yourself
Yeah,
and quit getting COVID. No, I can't even talk.
yeah.
But yeah, it was a crazy ride for Jessica, and she was finally able to come through with a really tough opponent. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried with this girl coming in super tough. Being a LFA champion, she's already feeling herself undefeated, throws heavy punches. So I was a little bit worried, but I knew Jess had the skills to beat her and the skills to just make her uncomfortable. And I felt like she was able to do that really well in the fight. Like you could tell that the girl wanted nothing to do with Jess's grappling. She was just like, bah, get off of me. Get away. I'm not coming down there with you. And like I could see like Jess's cockiness come out a little bit when she
Yeah,
was like, come on.
yeah.
Come on down. So that was really cool to see because it's been such a roller coaster ride for her and emotionally, like just really hard to take something that you've been doing your entire life, just take that away from you for a few years, and then you kind of feel lost or feel like the game is passing you by. So I felt like this was a great fight to show her, and it was a close fight, but win or lose, like that performance showed her that she still is competitive. She can still hang with the young bucks, and she still has some stuff to prove in there.
Yeah, I thought a lot of what you just said really manifested there. That you could tell that she was a veteran. There were a lot of things that Loopy was doing that, could have knocked out other people or could have really neutralized the other people better. And you could tell that Jess knew how to handle those situations, when to tie her up, when to slow her down, when to close the range to make sure that Lupe wasn't able to tag her anymore. Because, yes, honestly, she's good. She's good
Yeah,
and she can punch and she's strong and she had a lot of slams and
yeah.
those were impressive. But it's funny because I did think that Jessica won. I know a lot of people were saying that they thought that Loopy won. It was a split decision. For people who don't know the backstory, Jessica has been out for a long time because of a USADA thing. They were able to negotiate what was maybe going to be a 4 year suspension down to 20 months. But, she was forced into thinking about maybe having to retire. Like Angela was saying, maybe the game is passing you by. So for those who don't know, that's just a little context on that. But so for her to come back, and I did think she really did show that she knew what she was doing in there. Yeah. And it was one of those things where, like you said, even if it didn't go her way and even if her hand hadn't gotten raised, I think she proved a lot, and she
Mhm.
definitely proved that she still belonged there. But it's one of those decisions that we were kind of debating after, and I was actually talking to Alex Davis about this, who works with him on the HEBOS. Alex is the
Oh,
one who does a lot of the translating and stuff, but Alex and I and Alan Joban, we were all kind of talking about the decision and who we thought won. And I said, look, I fully admit to probably being biased because Jessica's my friend. So I'll totally add that in. But I gave my reasons why. I thought she did control a lot of where the action was, right? And when Loopy threw her down, she didn't really do anything with it.
Exactly. And that's how I felt too. I felt like we solidly secured the first 2 rounds, but the second round I felt was a little close. And the funny thing was, it wasn't the second round that was up for debate with the judges, but it was the first round. So I thought that was a little strange. I felt like the first round was like the most secure one. Like Loopy started off strong, but she ended with Jess on her back the entire round. So I felt like that was clear cut, like Jessica's round. And then the second round, there was more back and forth, but I felt like Jess did better in the scrambles. She controlled the pace more.
Yeah.
And then the third round, Loopy kind of like, it was a little back and forth, a little bit more. That was probably Loopy's strongest round. But, I could have seen it going for Jess too. Like,
Yeah.
I think sometimes with close fights, it's hard for a judge to give a fighter all 3 rounds if the other fighter was doing enough to
Right.
stay competitive. So yeah, it was definitely one of those really close fights where it's like, man, like I really wish there were better ways to just show what actually
Yeah.
happened in the fight, because every round was pretty close,
Well,
but I
right.
did feel like Jessica was edging out each round. So yeah, I felt like it was a well deserved win, but of course, people, if in a close fight, people are going to debate. People are going to say, "Oh, she was throwing her. She was doing slams." Dude, like Jessica is just trying to get her to come into the
Yeah.
ground. So
Yeah.
like anyway, she's climbing up the cage.
Yeah.
She's doing whatever she can to entice Loopy to come
Yeah.
to the ground with her and play her game. And I
Right.
think that was a really good game plan that I may or may not have helped with.
Nice.
Going against a girl who's super strong like that.
Yeah, well, it was a good strategy, and the thing that was interesting about it too is that Loopy kept kind of doing the same thing. That was one thing that we were saying. We were like, well, she hasn't figured out the pattern yet, and she kept kind of taking the bait or whatever, and
Hmm.
and ending up in these same situations. And really, that's what I ended up kind of giving the edge to Jessica for, was the fact that she was able to keep bringing that fight back to where she wanted it, where she was working for submissions, and even though she didn't get one, she constantly looked to be trying to finish. Whereas when
Yeah.
Loopy would throw her down, or maybe she would, I mean, she definitely landed some nice punches, but when she threw her down, she didn't dive into the guard. Now, granted, I understand why, but at the same
Hmm.
time, there were a couple of slams that were so strong that you think she could have jumped in side control or something in an advantageous position and really done something more with it. So to me, it was like, yes, you got a takedown, and yes, you did this and that, but you didn't really do anything with it after, and just either, like you said, baited her in or just got right back up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it was a solid one for
Yeah,
Jessica, and it of course it's my girl, so
I
I'm
know,
gonna
I
be
know. Like I said,
backing
fully
her.
biased, but
But
yeah,
biases aside, if that were me on the other side, this wouldn't be a fight where I'm going, I was robbed.
right.
Like I feel like sometimes people like to say, "Oh, well, so and so got robbed. Where's he?" And I'm like, no, no, baby. Like that's not what happened.
Right.
I've had close decisions that I felt could have gone my way that I haven't marked as robberies. I'm just like, hey, it was a close decision, and
Yeah.
there's little things that I could have done to edge it my way that I didn't do in the moment.
Right.
And those fights, you can look at like my fight against Nina Ansaroff. I
Yeah.
felt like it was close. It could have gone either way, but there were things that I could have done that would have made it more decisive. And
Yeah.
I wasn't mad that, like, I understood why Nina got the win.
Right.
And that's the type of fight that I felt like this was. I don't think Loopy is going to say robbery, 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 but I do think she's going to say that was a good performance. I could have jumped in her guard, or
Mhm.
I could have stayed out of the clinch and done different things that wouldn't have baited me into these situations where suddenly I have my back taken. Suddenly she's grabbing my legs and I have
Yeah.
to run away from her. So
Yeah.
so I think this is going to be a really good learning experience for Loopy, but I also feel like she showed that she's gonna give a lot of people trouble in the
I was just gonna
UFC.
say.
So hey, like welcome. That's what I said to her. Welcome to the UFC, and I felt like it might have sounded a little condescending, but but what I meant was like, dude, you're a strong
You
fighter.
arrived, yeah.
That was a great debut, win or lose, and you're gonna give a lot of girls trouble at this weight class. So yeah,
Yeah.
welcome, Loopy.
I
Loopy.
agree. I agree. A wholehearted and heartfelt welcome. Yes. Welcome. Welcome. You know what's interesting is, so Jessica, you and Jess have been teammates with Jeremy Stevens for quite some time, and you know in the past there was a situation when Jessica rolled her ankle in warm-ups backstage. Fight got called off day of. So this time, literally moments before we go on the air, I have my scripts right here and everything with all kinds of stuff I wrote about Jeremy Stevens and Jakar close fighting each other and all kinds of stuff that we did. So it's literally minutes before we're at practice. We're not at practice. We're like rehearsing and stuff like that. And I hear I hear it's Dom and Mike and Brendan. And you hear like on the thing, you're like, wait, what did he say? Wait, who's that gonna not gonna fight? And you're like, God, son of a shit! And like I'm like, you know, I'm not gonna lie. I was praying it wasn't Robert or Kelvin. You know what I mean? Because I would have just packed my stuff. I would have been that Viola Davis where she's like, well. And just leave because I just been like, how are you gonna do that to me? You know what I mean? Like, how are you gonna break my heart like that? So that would have been brutal. But it was still brutal that it was Jeremy and Drakkar. And so what had happened was on Friday at the stare downs, which of course you were there, Jeremy pushed Drakkar. Turns out Drakkar said his hand went numb right away. He had pain in his leg. Long story short, he went over to the PI, got some PT, went to the hospital, even got checked out. Turns out he had a cervical sprain, which is essentially whiplash, and a concussion because he woke up on Saturday nauseous and with a migraine. And the only thing he said helped was laying in the dark. He was vomiting in this, and so the doctors waved it off. And it totally sucks. But it sucks because Jeremy's been on the receiving side of something like this with the eye poke with Yair Rodriguez. I was there in Mexico City. You were there, you know, like, so we know Jeremy's been on the receiving side and he's not a bad dude.
No.
But this was a bit of a mess.
Yeah. Well, okay. I understand the whiplash thing, but look, I need to not go on tape disputing it before I talk to like a doctor or something. But my first initial reaction is that sounds like a concussion or a bad weight cut, and I can't see his whiplash or just a push giving that type of reaction. Like I can't see
without a pre-existing condition. You mean?
Without something else.
Don't George Floyd me right now. Don't you George? Don't you Derek Chauvin?
No. That's not what I'm doing. All I'm saying is I feel like Jeremy wishes he hadn't pushed him. So either he showed up with whatever was going on with him on fight night. Like if he had a concussion.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
If he had a concussion from training and getting there.
Right. It's too bad he didn't get to use it in the fight.
If the push is all he had to do, man, he could have pushed the shit out of him in the fight and won TKO stoppage, you know, like that. And I feel like, you know, that's probably how he feels. He feels like, hey, I got a TKO.
But here's the thing, though. But like, so the guys, you know, on set where I was working with Kiesa and Alan Joban, and we were talking about it. We were like, well, I know what you're saying because we're like, well, he's a professional fighter. It's the day before he was supposed to go in and get punched in the face. How can something that seems so slight have caused so much damage? But then the guys were like, well, you know, you are dehydrated, you know, to some degree. And even though Dakar didn't look totally drawn out, they're like, you know, you're dehydrated. And also they were like, it's basically just that you're not expecting it either, you know, which is, I guess, what a whiplash situation is too. And whereas in a fight, you would be expecting it. And so they were saying, you know, that's maybe what it is. Because if you keep watching the tape, it's going to be like the Zapruder tape now. But we kept watching it over and over. And you do see when Jakar starts walking back, like he kind of has like a limp or there's something a little funky going on the left side of his body.
Yeah, man, it's really upsetting. And like, I know Jeremy was super upset. But you know, he has this trigger. Like we saw it with Kenan Barral. We saw it with who did he fight in Mexico City?
Yair Rodriguez. And it was the 15-second eye poke. Right.
Yeah. And you know, it's just like this crazy thing where like if you get like up in Jeremy's face, then his reaction is push, like get away from me. Like this guy he's been fighting UFC for a long time. He started after he got into many street fights, like, hey, let me make a career out of this. So when you run up on him, like he's one of those guys that are just like, hey, why are you running up on me? You know, like back up. 6 feet distance, you know, like see, I don't have a mask on, 6 feet, man, you know.
Right.
So like I wasn't surprised when he pushed him, but it was unexpected. That makes sense. I know I just
I know what
contradicted
you're saying.
myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really just wish he hadn't pushed him, because if that push was all he needed, man, he would have done some damage in there. He
Yeah.
really would have. So yeah, I do understand, like when you're like rehydrating, you're still pretty frail. You're still like putting stuff back in your body.
Yeah.
Your like joints and muscles aren't as like quick to react as they
Right.
would be once there's like all the water in there. But yeah, I feel like hopefully the fight will get rebooked,
Yeah, I hope so.
and there will be even more drama for it, because I don't think there was really much drama going into this fight until the push. I think it was just like, oh, we have two heavy hitters and it's going to be a great fight. But then the push happened, and then everyone was like, oh, we got to see this fight. So hopefully Close isn't, too traumatized, too messed up physically, and he'll be able to show up and, have some incentive this time to go in and whip some ass. And I know Jeremy always has incentive. He's insane. He's a madman in there.
Yeah.
Like I love his energy. He's legit crazy once he locked that cage door. So yeah, I'm hoping the fight still happens.
Yeah, Little Heathen, definitely well named. Hopefully it does still happen. One thing I should ask before moving on is, so you didn't hear from him that there was any kind of penalty for him? Because that was the one thing, because you guys aren't supposed to touch each other.
Yeah,
So
so
I
that's
didn't know if there was going to be a penalty for him or anything like that.
yeah, and that's the other reason I'm a little worried for him, is because like if there was a pre-existing thing, like his push just negates that. So
Right.
he put himself in the wrong by
Right.
pushing him. But at the same time, we're not supposed to touch each other. But before the push, they were touching each other.
Yeah.
Like they were consensually touching. There's pictures of it. There's there was at least like a good second of touching before
Yeah.
the push. So he might not be in the wrong just because of that. Like if Close was keeping his range and then Jeremy ran up and pushed him,
Yeah.
then maybe there's a little more reason for Jeremy to be at fault.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how exactly it works when something like that happens, but I feel like if I were a lawyer, that would be my like story that I stick to. Like, hey, they were touching, so anything goes.
Right.
After that, they were both consensually touching each other's faces,
Touch.
even though Close had a mask on.
Gotcha. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, speaking of touching, Bobby Knuckles, which I don't usually use that nickname, Robert Whittaker, the Reaper, who is just incredible. He was victorious 5 rounds over Kelvin Gastelum. It really was just a nearly perfect performance. Like there really is no way to find a weakness in it. He always is good, right? He had gotten burnt out. He was a champion for 2017 to 2019. I have a bunch of different facts from him from his scripts and stuff. But anyway, he's great. I met him first back in Tough Smashes in 2012. I was in Australia. I've been a fan of him ever since. But he's going up against Kelvin, who I've also known since he got off of The Ultimate Fighter, and King's Penne is so near and dear to my heart. So this one was killing me to watch the two of them go up against each other anyway. But you knew it was going to be really good, and it was literally one of those may the best man win situation. And so now it really does look like Robert has secured the spot for the number one. He was already ranked number one. I think he should get the rematch. Marvin Vettori, though, is making an incredible case for himself. He's currently ranked number 3. He's awesome. He's a maniac. He also has already fought Israel. That's the thing, is all 3 of those guys would have been rematches for Israel. I personally do think it should be Whittaker next, but I don't know what you think.
It's hard to say who deserves it most. Because I don't know. Like I feel like Whittaker's fight with Adesanya was more recent, so maybe you should give Vettori the rematch.
Right, because Vettori's was longer ago.
It was longer ago, so maybe Vettori's gotten better since that first fight. But at the same time, like, it's going to be more exciting with Whittaker. Like, like who wants to see?
Well,
who wants to see Vettori do what he did to Holland if he does win? You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's kind of the main reason Vettori isn't getting that pick, even though he might deserve it. Maybe not deserve it, but he might like be neck and neck with Whittaker on deserving levels.
See, here's my thing. I think Vettori, if you look at the last performance, is only because he saw what Brunson did to Holland and knew
And
that it was
that's
going
true
to work.
too.
If Brunson hadn't done that to Kevin, I don't think Marvin would have done that to Kevin. Do you know what I mean?
See, I feel like we need a tournament.
Yeah, we do.
We need
Well, it's
a
been a
tournament.
tournament for the last few days, and that's the whole thing. Is Paulo Costa
Yeah.
was supposed to be fighting Whittaker, and Costa is out. But that the thing that also makes the argument for Whittaker is the strength of the schedule, right? Because now he's coming in hot. He beat Till, he beat Cannonier, and now he just beat Kelvin. And so that is the one spot where I do think the argument for Whittaker kind of pulls ahead is the strength of the schedule there, and not that Marvin hasn't fought top guys, but he hasn't fought as many top guys yet as Robert has.
Exactly. But at the same time, like Vittoria's had like a lot of issues with people pulling out
Yes,
or
it's not his
getting
fault, right? He was
injured.
supposed to have bigger
So it's
fights.
not his fault. So you kind of feel like I understand why he's so angry, but but at the same time, I don't know if it's helping his case.
Yeah. But it's
But
great. But the thing is, you could make him
yeah,
fight, Costa or something, because you're right. He was supposed to be fighting Darren Till. You know what I mean? And he was supposed to
yeah.
get his big opportunity.
Mhm.
And you can't have Marvin fight Kelvin because they train at the same gym. So it's only going to be if it's ever for a title. You know what I mean? They're not going to be in an eliminator. And so yeah, you could have Marvin versus like Jared Cannonier or maybe Jack Hermanson or something like that, right? Or no, yeah,
What
because no,
about
Jack he beat Jack already. That was the
oh,
one in
did
December.
he? That
Yeah,
was
he
a
beat
big one.
Jack. So yeah, so I think Marvin does have a great case, but I do think that it's probably going to be Robert just because. Also, nobody doesn't like him. Like, I was having a conversation with the
I
guys. They were like,
know.
"What fighter do the girls like?" or something. Or I was just like, I was saying something. I was like, "Oh, Robert Whittaker. Oh, I hadn't noticed." I was like, "Yeah,
He's
basically
so
nobody doesn't like
adorable.
him, and especially the ladies
Yeah.
love him." I don't know if you're on the bandwagon. I think he's awesome.
I think he kind of has that puppy dog look, like he's he kind of has like big eyes, and big eyes and like a little like a nice symmetrical face. You just
Yeah.
want to squish. But he's also like he's a really great interviewer.
Yep.
He's always very professional, very
Yes.
humble.
Yes.
Just seems like a down to earth guy,
Just a real
like
dude. Exactly.
like yeah, like I love the clip that you posted where you say, yeah, Vittori thinks you don't want to be champion. What do you think? He's like, yeah, I want to be champion. like,
Yeah.
like why would I say no? Like, of course, I want to, why would I be doing this? Why
Right.
would I? There's no reason to go through the stress and all
Right.
this work if I don't want to be champion. Like,
Right.
it's fighting the top guys.
Why am I
Why?
doing it?
If he didn't want to be champion, he'd be fighting cans.
Right.
Fighting whoever whoever pops up. Um, so yeah, he's just a really down to earth guy.
Yeah.
You kind of want it for him. So
Yeah.
I would be down. I would definitely be down. What do you think about Vittori versus Whittaker?
Oh, Vettori versus Whittaker. I mean, if they fought each other, you mean?
Yeah, what do you think about making that fight as like
Well, the thing is, yeah, I think it would go pretty much very very similar, right? Because when Robert came to the set with us for the post show, when he was talking, one thing he kept saying, one thing he did say, there was like, "My God," he said, Kelvin hits like a truck, and obviously we know what he did to Bisbee and stuff. And so for Whittaker, who has fought every single dude, to specifically say that Kelvin hit so hard, and then you remember that Kelvin was a welterweight before, that's really saying something. So I think that is, Kelvin should get a lot of praise for this performance, even though he did lose every round. Like he should be, he shouldn't be written off. You know what I mean?
for sure,
But
for
yes, I
sure.
think so. So Robert was saying, he said he actually sees Marvin and Kelvin as very similar fighters. And then, and I was like, he didn't realize they trained at the same place. I'm like, yeah, well, they're both Kings guys. They both train. He's like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
even for him to say that made me think, well, yeah, then yeah, maybe he would handle Marvin in a very similar fashion to the way that he fought
Mhm.
Kelvin.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think Marvin's just size is a little more
Bigger
imposing than
dude, for
Kelvin's.
sure. For sure.
Yeah,
So the clinches and the grappling will be different with Marvin.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like he might have more success when he grabs the legs, like
Yeah.
tries to drag him down, tries to stay on top. Like he might have more top pressure there.
Yeah.
But I think like entry wise, he's gonna do similar things where he goes
Right.
blitz and then goes for the takedown. Blitz, get the clinch,
Right.
try to drag him off of the fence. But yeah, honestly, I feel like if they fought each other, I do think that Whittaker would take that. I feel like he moves. His lateral movement is so good,
Right.
and his range management is so good that he'd be able to back up, hit the counter, and keep backing
And
up
keep
and
going.
stay
Right.
out of his
So
range, and
fast.
then come forward whenever he wants to. And I I honestly felt like Holland had a good chance of hurting Vettori because his head stays on that middle line.
Mhm.
So it is a little easier to hit than some of the more elusive
Yeah.
people like Adesanya. And I feel like that would be a great fight. But yeah, I think I'd take Whittaker in that fight. But I feel like maybe they should fight each other in order to make it just like,
I mean, maybe,
you
but
just
like I
don't
said,
you
Robert
don't
was
want
already
your
number one
guy
coming
who,
in. He's like, who else do I need to beat?
yeah,
I guess I could see it, but I would rather see
see him get the title shot.
Marvin Vettori versus Paulo Costa
Okay.
for the eliminator. Like I say, you give it to Whittaker, and then you have Vettori versus Costa for the next shot.
Okay. I gotcha. I could get down with that too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions for you. The rest of the night was, there were a couple things that were funky. There were some girls that missed weight hard.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. You know what? I was really sad because I met her backstage
Yeah.
when I was with Jess and she was doing all her media stuff, and she was like really happy to meet me.
Her name's Zara Farron, for those who don't know.
Zara
Yeah, and
Farron.
she's managed by my friend, and I'm not trying to make fun, but you have a job, and your job is to show up on weight.
Dude, that was so bad. And
Yeah.
it wasn't just that she missed weight. She missed weight like for 2 different weight classes. So she tried to do a catch weight of 139 and then weighed in at 147. And I'm like, how did that happen? Like, I remember there was a guy who missed weight by 11 pounds.
Yeah.
And then it was a Brazilian fighter. And then my friend Wilson Hayes,
Yeah.
he told me that the Brazilian media actually reported that the guy was under the misconception that he could start like drinking and eating because he got sick. And he already told them he wasn't going to make weight.
Oh.
So I'm like, maybe something like that happened.
I don't know. It's crazy.
I think
I was because the thing is, we knew, yeah, like you said, we knew it was going to get switched to a catch weight, and I was like, okay. And so then she weighed in. I was like, wait, what did he just say she weighed in at? You know what I mean? I was like, and then I look at my sheet. I'm like, wait, I know it's a catch weight. I was like, but it wasn't a catch weight featherweight fight. I'm like,
and then I'm thinking, did she sign the contract for a bantamweight fight thinking it was featherweight? Because her last 2 fights were featherweight.
maybe
Like she fought
she fought Felicia Spencer
and Felicia Spencer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, did she think she was weighing in at
I don't know.
145 and then just accidentally missed that one?
I don't know.
Or was it too close when she found out, oh, it's a bantamweight fight?
I don't know. It's
So
a
I'm like,
mess.
maybe that happened. But that was just a crazy miss. Like I'm like, there has to be some backstory. Nobody just shows up and does that.
Yeah.
But can we talk about how tiny her opponent was? This girl, oh my God. What did she weigh in at? Did she weigh in?
I think she was, I don't know if she was right on the mark at 35. I don't know. I don't remember.
She was smaller than me. Like shit, and I'm not 135 right now. I'm like 120 something. And dude, walking around the hotel, I kept walking past her.
Oh,
I'm
you
like,
did?
oh, it's you, girl. And I'm like, what strawweight is she fighting?
See, I didn't see her in person, so I don't have like a reference on, and the height and weight stuff over there. I don't know how tall she is. I'm not sure.
She's shorter than me, and looks tinier. Like she looks tiny. Maybe she has big legs or something.
Is she like
But
built
that
like
girl-
Andrade?
Yeah, like she's tiny, but not like muscly either. Like just like chilling up top and maybe some hips. But like I'm just like, where's the weight? Where is the weight? I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. Like maybe she has a really heavy butt. Like I'm just like looking at her. She probably thought I was checking her out. I'm like,
Yeah. There you go.
how are you a bantamweight?
How are you a bit? Yeah, I'm not. I saw her weigh in, but yeah, I think she maybe hit the catch weight limit. You know what I mean? I'm not sure.
I doubt she cut at all. I
Yeah.
think she ate a full breakfast and lunch
And
before. breakfast and second breakfast before she
Second
jumped on the
breakfast.
scale. Yeah.
Well, I
But
want to
that's
ask you because when we were talking at on the post show, and I had said it to Robert and the guys, we were talking about how we had real martial arts and real mixed martial arts over at our show, but there was a Triller show as well, and you know, we may or may not have been also watching Triller at work because everybody was watching Triller. Like, who we fooling if we're pretending that we're too good to watch Triller? Because it is a dumpster fire, and we're all there for it. We are there for the announcers who are high AF. We are there,
yeah.
dude. That was bad. Actually, I
That was
really love what Frank Mir did. He put a statement out of like, this might actually be a cry for help for Oscar. Like, let's all not ha 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 and laugh at him. Like, maybe we actually need to help this dude out before it's a sad story. And he's absolutely right. And I feel bad now making fun of it. But at the time, we all were like, dude, what's going on over there? Because they all seemed like really blitzed.
wow. Was it just Oscar or was it because I didn't watch it? Oh
If you
no.
see Pete Davidson, there's some clips of Pete Davidson, and
Oh.
Kies is like, "Oh, he's dosing. Like he's definitely dosing on something like that." And at first we're like, "Is he microdosing?" We're like, "Oh no, no, no. There's no
It's a
micro.
full
There's just
dose.
like
It's a full
he's
dose.
like 'cause his eyeballs were
It's a
massive.
full
People,
pinky still.
yeah. If you guys, I mean, if people watched, I would love to because I honestly don't know that much about like a lot of these drugs that the kids do these days. I don't. So I don't know like what it looks like if you're on Molly. I don't know what it looks like if you're on I don't know.
Yeah.
But Pete Davidson looked out of it. If you heard the call, like yeah, Oscar sounded really tipsy and then everyone's thinking that he was also on the nose candy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fun. It's fun to have fun, and we would love to talk about face punching with a couple beers at the desk. I would never do that because I always joke that I'm the bus driver. Like the passengers can all be drunk, but the bus
Yeah.
driver can't be drunk. So I wouldn't do it. But it sounded really fun. But at the same time, it just was a mess.
Yeah, no, it always sounds like you're doing great when you're high.
Well, you think you're killing it.
And then you're killing it. I'm like, man, I know everything about everyone, and I sound amazing. And then you watch the tape, and you're just like, and it's
Totally.
oh my god, that's so
Totally.
bad. Yeah, I do feel bad for him, but I mean, maybe the cry for help was him being on Triller in the first place. Maybe it's just like this is not boxing.
Yeah.
What has happened to my sport? You know, like maybe that was really the kicker that sent him over the edge.
It's possible. It's possible. So you didn't see the clips. I mean, they're everywhere now of
I
Ben
saw the one too. I
of
saw
Ben
the
getting
one
knocked
too.
out. Yeah. And so it's
Yeah.
weird. I want to know your thoughts on this because a lot of people are saying like, oh, it's an embarrassment or whatever, it's a shame on our sport. And I don't think so though, right? Because like, look, Ben was never a boxer or whatever, that kind of fighter, but also at the same time, it's like he got paid. I don't know that like he had some incredible legacy that got ruined or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
Olympian obviously, but like I guess the one thing that we were saying was that he already went through the whole thing with eating a Jorge Masvidal's knee, and then now he has
Yeah.
to live through this too.
Yeah, I feel like people want Ben to feel sorry for himself more than he actually feels sorry for
I think
himself.
you're right.
Like they want him to I saw one interview where I think Mark Raimondi was asking him like, "Hey, do you feel like you're representing MMA when you're going into this fight?" And he's like, "No, like, no. Maybe I'm representing wrestling, but it is a boxing fight, so I can't really do any of my wrestling. I'm just representing wrestling." So I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
funny that he didn't really feel any pressure. It seemed like going into this, he just got up off of his couch and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take a fight. Why not?" And I did have more faith in Ben. I felt like just because I've been in the gym for so long, I always see these guys come through who are like, "Oh, I'm an amateur kickboxer. I've had 200 street fights,
Right.
or I had like a bunch of fights in Bangkok, against tuk tuk drivers." And all these guys, they come in and they haven't fought like real competition, and they can spar like the worst striker in the gym, but that person will be a professional fighter,
Right.
and they'll piece him up because there's a difference between like that professional level of competition and fighting in headgear and
Yeah.
shin guards or whatever. So I felt like Ben Askren would be able to use that like amount of mat time or ring time, I guess, like training in the cage,
Right.
training on striking days. He'd be able to use those years of that and be able to outclass what's his name?
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. Yeah, I'm like, what's his name? Paul.
I don't even know. Paul Bunn. I don't even know.
Yeah. Jake Paul. Yeah,
Jake Paul.
I'm gonna be sick of saying his name, but now he's a thing. So it is frustrating because I know like these guys just got famous off of YouTube, him and his brother, and then
Yeah.
they keep getting in the news for saying controversial things and just being kind of dicks online,
Right.
and not really not really apologizing for it, but just continuing on and doing things that are more cringy and more annoying. So
Right.
so yeah, it sucks that now this is a thing, and I think most like pro fighters wanted Ben to win so that they could stop hearing this guy's name.
Yes.
But now he knocks out a professional MMA fighter. So now we got to talk about who he's gonna fight next. Ugh.
Right. Well, then he's talking. He talks some
So
crap.
frustrating.
Yeah, because T Wood has been going. Because T Wood was in Ben's corner and stuff, and so T Wood, is like, yeah, you can come get a piece of this all day, which would be amazing. But T Wood would light him up, and so I don't know that Jake wants that smoke, but that would be awesome. I think I'll watch Tyron beat his ass.
Play a song in the
Oh,
background.
beat your ass! Oh, beat your ass! But then he was saying something like about Nate Diaz, and I'm like, come on,
Ooh,
dude.
that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Yeah, but Nate, I want Nate to get paid, but I don't want him to get paid like that. Come on.
I mean, Nate is a boxer though. Like
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's beneath him.
It is, but you'd be okay with watching Woodley do it.
I'm just saying,
He's more connected to it though.
only because now, because Tyron was there with Ben, and I know they were talking crap and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now they actually have a beef or something like that. Believe me, it's beneath all of them, Angela. It definitely is. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. It's beneath all of them.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
But I want my friends to get paid.
At the same time, I'm like, if there was a YouTube star I could fight, and they called me out, and they were like, we're gonna pay you $500,000 to fight fucking what's that girl's name? The Cash Me Outside girl.
Oh yeah, Cash Me Outside. How about that?
Where? When tonight? When? No, I'm strapping my gloves on now. Like it's beneath us to a certain extent. I feel like everyone has a price.
Yeah, no, for sure. Oh, believe me, if they said I could go beat up some other announcer chick or something, I don't even have a beef with anybody, but like I'd pick one, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Just throw a latte at somebody.
Yeah. But one thing I want to ask you about, because the Triller thing, it's funny, and I'm not mad at people getting paid. I guess it's just like I wish Frank Mir had actually won his fight. I know he actually tried. Like, to me, that's okay, that one, because that looked like a real fight. They were really fighting. It looked like, you know what I mean? So I'm not mad at the whole concept, but one thing that was a little crazy is, for folks who don't know, Bruce Buffer's brother, Michael Buffer, right, is the Let's Get Ready to Rumble guy, and he was announcing for Triller, and it is this really funny clip. I'm sorry, it's funny, Ben, but so Buffer butchers Ben's name. Like, so he's in the ring, and he's like, Ben he calls him Askew, I think, or something like that, right? And then you see Becky's like, Ben, what? You know what I mean? And so it sucks, and you have a very simple name, but has it ever been butchered like that in the ring? And like, how would you feel? Because like, this is your moment, bro. Like, you were announcing it to the world, and you get it wrong.
Man, I've never had that. I think the closest thing to that's happened to me was they played the wrong walkout song.
Yeah.
And I think it was in Invicta.
Yeah.
And there's this curse called the Eminem curse.
I
If you
know
walk out to Eminem,
you're gonna lose.
you're definitely gonna lose and probably gonna be in a really bad way. And they played Eminem for me to walk. I was like, the fuck? I was like, this isn't my song. Like, I'm sorry. Oh wait.
Yeah.
I was just like, sorry, I got so mad my earpiece fell out. I was like, this isn't my song. I'm not walking out.
Good.
And they were like, go, go. And I'm like, I'm not walking. And then eventually I just went. And then as my opponent was walking out, they played my song, which I think was like a Judas Priest song or something. And so I'm like singing the words. I'm like, this is my fucking song, you know? Like, and then Jess was in my corner at that time too. And she's like, calm down, calm down.
Yeah.
Focus on the fight. So that was like a little funny moment. But I felt disrespected. And I can imagine if they had just said my name wrong, like it would have been a whole nother level of disrespect felt. But it's never personal, I feel like,
Yeah.
unless Jake Paul was so crafty that he paid off Buffer to screw up the name and call him Ben Askren. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. That sounds like a YouTube prank that him and his brother might have done at some point.
I think you'd have to pay Buffer a lot, though. That dude is worth a lot.
$500,000? No.
I don't know. Yeah, you'd have to pay him a lot. But I thought it was so bad, and because it's a very important part of the job. Obviously, as the announcer, I'm like, you had one job. And it's something that I stress out about at work all the time, making sure that I say people's names right. And, people ask me, they're like, oh, what names do you like to say? And I will say, I love to say Zabit Magomed Sharipov. It's just fun. But like, I remember the first time when Khabib got there and we were all like, Khabib Nurmagomedov, what? Like, just saying Nurmagomedov at first was such a mouthful. But then, everybody, it rolls like crazy now. It's not that hard, but I just felt so bad, and I was like, man, because it happens, and I try, like, I apologize if ever there's like a French person on the card, even if it's just Cyril Gone, which maybe I'm saying right, but there's like that Munir Lassay or whatever, or like anybody from Canada who's French Canadian. I'm reading the thing and I'm like, I apologize in advance. I cannot say French names, like, so I butcher them, and I feel so bad.
You're fine. They're like at this point they're used to people butchering their names. It's like you're in America where we all have American educations.
Yeah.
We don't know that many people in France or Eastern Europe or wherever you're from, so we're gonna butcher it. And I feel like most people are really good sports about it. So yeah, but I mean Ben Askren is pretty easy.
Pretty simple.
So that's always a weird one.
Pretty simple. Hey, so you brought something up a minute ago with the fight song. So what had happened was my mom Marlene wrote in with a question.
Marlene.
That would be my mom. So she was asking about superstitions and fighter superstitions and stuff, and like, do they have them? And I'm like, well, yeah, for sure they have fighters, like they do, like lucky shorts and this and that. And she said, okay, well, I'd love to know about some of the fighter superstitions that you've heard of or whatever. But she also said specifically she wanted to know if you had any, Miss Ange.
Okay, I used to have a few. But I was actually talking to Jess about this during fight week.
Mhm.
Being on tough makes you get rid of a lot of your superstitions because you can't do anything. You're there and you just got to go with what you have. So if there's like a procedure you like to do, like I used to like to get my nails done and like a really fancy like design or something, I'd splurge and I call them my fight nails. And I get like tiger print or something cool or like flag colors or something fun. And after tough, I just stopped doing it because I felt like it didn't really make a difference. It stopped becoming like that super necessary for me. I was just like, I'd rather sit in my room and play video games. But but I think one superstition I still have is I always bring one of my first walkout shirts
Mhm.
from my first gym, Evolution Muay Thai. And it's just like it's kind of a cool logo too. So I like having it on me whenever I fight.
Yeah.
But it's like because it's called Evolution Muay Thai, it's like a monkey, then a caveman, then a guy throwing a roundhouse.
Cool.
So it's a cool logo.
Cool.
And I always bring it, and it has like cut off sleeves because that's how I walk out and with my
Yeah.
Muay
Yeah.
Thai days. And so that's my one superstition is if I don't have it packed, I feel a little weird.
Yeah.
But there's a lot. Like I know a lot of people have lucky shorts that
Well,
they
like
always
Cowboy
find.
Cerrone with the shorts, with the Muay Thai shorts that
Yeah,
he, would wear all the time. And then when we switched to Reebok, remember that was like a big deal for him. He's
yeah,
like, well, but what do you mean if I can't wear my shorts? Like,
yeah.
and yeah, and then that time he had them like underneath his Reebok ones or whatever, right? Or had the patch from it or something. It was this whole
Yeah.
thing because for Cowboy, yeah, it was to have this particular pair of Muay Thai shorts was really important to him.
Yeah, and he had like a patch that represented his grandma.
Grandma, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he got fined for having the patch on his shorts, but that was probably another thing. He's like, I need this patch on my shorts.
Right.
His grandma's
Yeah, and
patch.
he's like, I'm gonna pay for it then, whatever.
Yeah. So a lot of people like they'd rather like stiff the bill than go out there without their I guess armor, and that's what it kind of feels like. It feels like this armor. You're like you're preparing for something chaotic, so you want to be in control of certain things,
Yeah.
and sometimes that's all you can be in control of, like what socks you wear to the arena,
Right.
or what shorts you wear as you fight, or like um another one I used to think I needed was pasties, but that was more for the wardrobe malfunction
Yeah,
anything.
for
But I
sure.
always felt like that would be like a
Yeah.
good move
Because
to
I feel like,
always pack my pasties.
yeah, no, you should. You should. I don't want any wardrobe malfunctions. But yeah, because I do feel like, yeah, people have, like, if I don't, wrap my tape like this many times around, or you know what I mean, if I don't do it in exactly this order,
Yeah,
some people get thrown off about stuff like that. And I didn't get to do 97 roundhouse kicks backstage, or you know what I mean. I feel like there
yeah,
are people who
yeah.
have those kind of rituals too.
I definitely feel like the more that I've fought, the less I've been held on to it.
Yeah,
But a lot of it has to do with like streaks too. Like
true.
because I've had so many ups and downs, I'm like, well, all my superstitions failed me at some point, so I just threw them all out the window.
Right.
Like you superstitions aren't working, so fuck off. I guess none of it matters. But when you have someone who's maybe undefeated and then they change something one fight, it could ruin their mentality. Like the one thing that they didn't get to do that they've done every fight and won, you take that away from them, it can mess them up. And if the fighter ends up losing that one time, they didn't do that one thing, then that becomes the thing that they have to do every time. Otherwise, it's just like, oh, it just totally takes you mentally out of the game.
Yeah, blonde Brunson. He's riding it to the
Blonde
end.
Bronson.
I love it. Hey, well,
Don't
listen.
let his hair grow out.
Exactly. And I also love what they're like, how they're taking the Brunson, the picture of him flexing and like just sticking it everywhere. There's
Yeah,
actually been some pretty
yeah,
funny stuff with him lately.
yeah.
He's got a good
Keep it
sense of
on.
humor. But listen, I got to make sure that we don't forget to look ahead to UFC 261 because we have three title fights. We have Kamaru versus Masvidal. It will go differently, I think, because Jorge has a full camp this time. Last time it was short notice. I do think Kamaru is incredibly good and dominant, though. So I don't know if it'll get a totally different outcome necessarily, but I do think it'll be a different fight just because Jorge has time. But I want to ask you more so about Weili Zhang and Rose Namajunas, and then also we have Valentina versus Jessica Andrade, who you fought. So I don't
Yeah.
know which one of those you want to dig into first.
I'll start with the straw weights. This is gonna be an interesting one because I honestly feel like Willie's ground game hasn't been tested against the elite
Okay.
grapplers. Like she hasn't fought Gadelia, she hasn't fought Suarez, she hasn't fought Rose, and these are all people who have constantly gotten just dominant wins from controlling on the ground
Yeah.
or gotten submission wins. So I feel like this is going to be a big test for her to see if she can keep it on the feet or see what she does if it goes to the ground or see if she even tries to implement her own ground game. I don't think she will just because her fight against Joanna was all standing. There were no really strong takedown attempts in that fight. So I do feel like Weili likes to bang. She likes to
Yeah.
stay on her feet. And I think that Rose is most successful when she mixes up the takedowns
Mhm.
because that's kind of how she set up the punch with Joanna. She
Mhm.
was changing
Yeah.
level a lot. She was going for takedowns, and then when you change that level and make them react, then you can come
Yeah.
up top with the punches or the kicks or whatever. And it worked in her second fight with Joanna too. Um, and yeah, her fight with Andrade. I don't know. I think she was more trying to just pick her apart and keep
Mhm.
her at bay because Andrade is a strong wrestler as
Yes.
well. So I feel like Rose is going to be trying to mix it up a lot. And I don't think that if it stays on the feet, Rose is going to be in trouble. I think
Mhm.
she's really crafty on the feet, but I feel like her punches and kicks are set up well with her takedowns, so she has to do everything in order to keep Whaley on her toes. So this is going to be an interesting one because I definitely don't feel like Whaley has had to work that hard on the ground
On the
just
ground.
because she's
Yeah.
been either got that big knockout against Andrade or
Yeah.
she's been in striking matches. So this is going to be a real interesting one for sure.
Yeah, and I was in Shenzhen when she won. It was really cool. I was sitting octagon side, like,
Yeah.
I don't have a dog in the fight. It's just fun to be, octagon side for any kind of fight, but especially for a title fight. And especially
Uh-huh.
it was really incredible to be there in China when a Chinese woman won. I mean, I'm lying
Yeah.
if I'm gonna say like it was freaking awesome, right?
I bet
And
it's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, Li Jingliang had one prior to that, and it was just like it was awesome and it was great. So she's just a cool girl, and it's like it's fun to watch her. I love her Instagram. Like she's just a beast. I know all of you are, badass athletes, but it's like really inspiring to see you guys do it. And I think particularly her workouts sometimes are really impressive. She's just very, very strong and powerful. But yeah, I think for Rose, she obviously does have
She's
that length advantage.
aight.
And yeah, I know. And she's got that length advantage. And I
Like,
do think that Rose is one of the girls that does know how to use it too, though. You know what I
mhm,
mean? And so that's
mhm.
what's great about her, like you said, with the jab, with Joanna, using that and using that length, but knowing when to change, knowing how to get in there. And she has that such more of a submission threat as well than some of
Yeah.
these other girls that have been fighting Zhang Weili yet. So I do think that yeah, there's a lot. Rose presents a lot of danger, a lot of danger, and historically, like you were saying, Chinese fighters don't have a great strength in wrestling yet because that's more of a developing skill set over there. And so historically, yes, that's kind of a weak spot for them.
Yeah, but she does have good counter wrestling. So
Yes.
I'm wondering what that's going to look like when Rose goes for those attacks. And the thing that makes Whaley so dominant looking in this fight is that she knows how to wade in past the person's reach.
Yeah.
So like we saw that a lot with Joanna. She's able to just like tuck her chin, take her head to the side, and then come back with big punches over the top. And like, dude, she lit Joanna's forehead up so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, that
Oh
was
my
so
goodness.
bad.
And after seeing like how Rose kind of wilted in that third round against Andrade in her
Yeah.
second fight against Andrade, I'm wondering if Rose is going to be able to take that power, Willie, because like you said, she is strong, she is powerful, and she looks like her punches hurt. So yeah, that's going to be it's going to be a really fun fight to watch for sure.
I think so as well. And before we get out of here, we have a few more minutes. Not we can get into it. I think it's just hard. It's a big ask to beat Valentina Shevchenko. I think
Mm.
she's just so gifted, and she's just there's no weaknesses in her game. You know what I mean? She's a lot like Robert Whittaker in that way. Like just when you think you can do this, oh, I'll out grapple her. Oh no, you can't. Then she'll
Yeah.
submit you. She. I think it's really literally just going to be a roll of the dice night, and that's the night it came up she wasn't going to win because like she's nearly perfect.
Yeah, but Andrade does present a lot of troubles too because she has
Yeah.
knockout power,
Yes.
and she is her defense doesn't look good, but she's able to make it work with her pressure.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing where like sometimes people open up and they leave themselves open for like counters and like check hooks or just like things straight the middle, straight down the pipe. And somehow Andrade is able to find the right moments to open up where she can't get hit too badly. She can't get countered. She's closing the range before she's gonna be hit by the punch. When it's like right at the end of the punch, you know. So like, if anything, I expect Valentina to work a lot of like short punches as she comes in, like maybe like step back hooks or check hooks or anything, because Andrade has to work her way in.
Yeah.
And Valentina, she's so good at controlling range. She's so good at just throwing everything, including like the spinny stuff. Because I mean, she spins as a celebration dance. So of course she can do
I love her
spin
dance
kicks and all that shit. So I expect her to play with that range a lot, and I don't think she's afraid of going to the ground with Andrade. Andrade has big slams, but she doesn't have submissions. So I think if anything, she's gonna try to do like Loopy. She's gonna try to pick her up, put her down, and then back off and do it again, and hope that that looks good on the scorecards, and maybe get her like flinching so she can land those big hooks over the top. But yeah, I'm picking Shevchenko for that one. I think the way that Andrade opens up is gonna leave her to getting hit and dropped and you know.
Or I mean, she could get kicked right up the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. All right, listen. And so I can't wait. All right. So listen, like I mentioned at the top of the show, you can find this on my Karyn Bryant YouTube channel. You can find it on Angie Overkill's IGTV, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. You can follow me on Instagram at KB Heat and on Twitter at Karyn Bryant, Karyn. Bryant as in Kobe, no relation, but rest in peace. Angela, where can they find you?
You can find me on Angie Overkill at Instagram and Twitter. I need to work on my sign off. And then you can also find me at TikTok on Overkill Hill.
Nice.
Got it.
I have a TikTok somewhere too. I barely use it, so don't look for me there.
Yeah, we gotta do our little dances together. Hey,
we gotta hit it. Oh, I know. Actually, I know a couple of dances. I told you because my daughter's into anime. We got to get into this whole thing. I know a dance for AOT, and I know a dance, the Hisoka dance from Hunter x Hunter, which is great. Hisoka, I love Hisoka. He's on the back of my phone, even and everything. So for people who are into, it's a little Hisoka thing. He's kind of a weirdo, I guess, but that's cool. Yeah, we'll have an anime episode another time.
Yes, there you go.
Awesome. All right, Coach. Well, thanks for tuning in to What Happened Was, folks. See you next time.